Welcome back, everybody. Automotive Inc. here. Today we're going to be on our second oil change on Loki, which is the 2024 Ford Super Duty with the 7.3 Godzilla. Now, I'm not going to go into super big depth on how to do the oil change because I already have a specific video on that. I will link that down below. But this one is, we're going to send this off to Blackstone again to have our second oil change tested and see how it's lining out. I will also link the first oil change Blackstone result video down below so you can check out and see where that was, because it did say it had some higher content than it should be, but it was a new engine, so it could have been the reason why. Before we get too far into this, if you don't mind helping a small channel out and hitting the subscribe button down the corner or down below, thumbs up the video and notification bell so you know I'm posting new content. We have tons of great content coming up. So we're going to still run the Motorcraft oil filter. I usually stay with the manufacturer one unless I can't find one at the time. And some of the other filters on the market for Amwicks and everything, I know some people swear by those instead. Those are fine too. One thing I want to take note of as we get ready to pull the sample on this bad boy is I did switch to full synthetic. So Ford uses a synthetic blend, and when I changed the oil the first time, it came out black. I mean, it was black. Not like diesel oil necessarily, but it was dark. It looked burnt after only 4,000 miles. Now this oil, I switched to full synthetic. I ran a Pennzoil in it, platinum. And the oil still is actually basically clear. It has a little bit more of a brown tinge than it came out yellow or gold, but it's still clear. So that is really good. Now, did I notice any huge improvements in power, fuel economy, noise, or anything like that? No, not necessarily. But again, I do mostly towing, so it's kind of hard to equate that. But what I will say is I can say that the oil is definitely holding itself together than it was before, and that is always going to be good on any engine. So that is a huge plus. So first things first, anytime, and I think I put it in the comments when I actually did my last Blackstone sample send-in, I asked them to send me some more containers. So I had all of these here and ready to go. And basically they're going to send you this little white cup. That's going to be for collecting the oil. Then they give you a little oil rag, collects the oil, because you're going to fill it here, put it in the baggie, wrap that oil cloth around it, put it back in this bad boy. You're going to fill out the information on the card. They send out all those, and then they send you a prepaid mailer. So you don't really have to do a whole lot there, but they give you your little forms that you do fill out for the sample to send in, and it's just a little card that you fill out. So have all those. So we're going to send that in. Now that does take about 28 days, so we're going to just break this video and come back on that. And again, we're going to go look at all this. As for this oil change, I had no oil consumption, which is not really a concern when it comes to the Godzilla. But I am interested to see how it did, because after that first oil change, all the truck really did was heavy service towing, tons of towing across the mountains, so it got lots of heat and lots of everything. So I'm pretty interested to see how that's going. So I do appreciate you guys being here, and this video will snap back in. We get them results.
All right, guys, now we got the oil results back from Blackstone. We are going to go over those results and what they're telling me on how Loki's doing. If you're wondering what those black smudges are, I'm not trying to hide any information from you. That's my personal info, so we won't be putting that up on any of the videos. But I guess overall some good news. Now, this result did come back fairly quick. They did the results on the 11th. I think I sent it in, I don't know. Not too much earlier than that. It took about 2.5 weeks. The first sample did take a little bit longer. Now, if you're going to go through Blackstone and you're going to send a sample in on the card itself that you fill out, make sure you put as much information on that card as you possibly can. And down at the very bottom, you can request extra samples, containers to be sent at the exact same time. So that's kind of nice. You don't have to think about, oh gee, it's about time to get an oil change and put it off. They'll send them to you free of charge with a prepaid mailer free of charge. So that's kind of a good thing. So now, in history's past, me testing my oil wasn't a big deal, but it seems like the newer engines, we need to babysit them just a smidge bit more. And so let's go over these results. All right, so we can see up at the top, we got Loki here. We got the 7.3 data in here, synthetic 530. We'll cruise down here and read this. Jeremy, we filled in the 3864 for the miles on the oil. Let us know if that's right. Basically, they just subtracted what my total miles is from the last oil change that we sent in and filled that in. And then it goes on to say wear metals and silicone are lower, which shows the wear in and sealers are washing out in the oil. Iron lost is so steel parts look good. Copper, brass, bronze parts tends to linger the longest. From wear in, it starts off the highest, and we'll likely see improvements next time. A harmless trace amount of fuel showed up and have thinned the viscosity. Fuel is likely from idling or other operational factors. Nice improvements so far. Check back in later. And then what they do is they put these, there's the first one, here is the second one. Unit location averages, where it basically should be for current miles, and then universal averages. So we can see right here it went down in basically every category, which is good. And you can see where it could be up to that middle darker row. And as we come down here, we can see though that the viscosity, probably from the fuel in there, is better than it was when we were using Ford synthetic blend, but it should be higher. So we're off still a couple points on that. And then right here on the viscosity at 100, we can see it is higher than the synthetic blend, not by much, but by a little bit. And then we can see here that the flash point should be lower than 385. It did go down from the last one. Trace amount of fuel the first time was less than 0.5, should be less than 2.0. So trace there. And overall, pretty good. And if you wanted to see that, you guys can pause this and take a look, screenshot it, zoom in. So overall, I would say that switching to full synthetic will pay off in the long run. Again, the reason why I changed the oil so soon on this truck, or basically any of my trucks, is one, if I'm going to hold on to the truck for a long time, changing oil is cheap insurance. As we can see that the fuel viscosity is breaking down, we need that viscosity to stay strong. That's obviously, it's there to lubricate. It's going to get thinner. Same thing with the older diesels when they were doing the regens with the DPF, and it got even hotter. The diesel particulate filter, you get oil dilution and stuff. And so at the end of the day, it's cheap insurance. And after I changed the oil the first time, all Loki did was tow the first part of its life, and then after that, all it did was tow. Now, I do idle it, so that could be some of the reasons why there is that oil dilution in there, or the viscosity breakdown from the trace fuel. And so I would say that Loki got a clean bill of health. Looking forward, it's looking good. We don't see anything, but again, at 8,000 miles, I don't think anybody anticipates engine failure. It can happen. And I think that long term, you know, if Loki was to stay on the channel for a long time, obviously we would just keep up with the oil changes, keep with that good oil. Because I did notice engine temps going down. So if you're already having trace fuel in there breaking down viscosity, heat will also thin out that viscosity. So it does help to keep it, you know, cooler when you're running it hard. But so far I am happy with how the results have turned out. I don't see anything glaring, but again, it's super low miles for that. But I do idle a lot. I remote start a lot, and so it's just something to think about. Again, Blackstone's quick. They don't pay me to sling their name. I don't really care. There's probably 100 services out there that do something similar. I've used them for a long time. I'll continue to use them. I'll link them down below if you're interested. Again, there will be a link to how to do the oil change on a 7.3. I have one on the 22 and one on the 24, but to be honest with you, the procedure's basically the same. Nothing's changed. And yeah, so I think a clean bill of health. I'm happy with this so far. Again, haven't had any drivetrain issues with this truck per se, only the electrical issue. And the 22 did lose its engine around 6,000 miles or 6,900 miles. And I've had some people actually provide some feedback saying that their 23s went out at 60,000 miles and they were just out of warranty. And that just is unacceptable in the realm of how much we pay for these trucks. Again, the 6.6 has been out long enough from Chevy. The 7.3 has been out long enough that they should have rectified their concerns. But I still fall back to the question is when they started saying that people could spin out their fuel or their oil changes out till 7,500 miles. I think we started having more problems when they said that you could do that. And I don't know, man. I guess they control the thing. Maybe you can. Maybe it's a way to have people want to trade their vehicle more often because they do start having more problems. Case in point, just picked up that 2007 Avalanche. The oil was changed every 3,000 miles religiously. And it was done at GM, and the truck has about 170,000 miles on it, and it runs like a champ. No engine noises whatsoever, even on cold startup, and that was the first gen of the active fuel management. So I would say that if you're going to invest 60, 70, 80, 100,000 in a brand new truck, that a $60, or if you're going to go diesel, $120 oil change every 4,000 to 5,000 miles would probably be my max on that. But as much money as that is, I'd rather spend $70 there than at 60,000 or 100,000 whenever those warranties run out. You are up against the wall saying, well, now I got a trailer, I got to do some heavy engine work. I just think it's a good insight to have. And just like resetting your fuel trip economy thing every time and checking your fuel mileage, you can kind of gauge, hey, something's off. I'm losing fuel economy. Something's going on here. Checking your oil is kind of the same way. I would say that if you get to 40, 50,000 miles, you ran these reports, everything's looking good, maybe you don't need to necessarily continue sending it off to get tested. But then again, maybe you could head off something at the pass. So very happy to get these results back. And again, so far, other than the electrical concern that still plagues this pickup, everything's looking good. I appreciate you guys always being here, so make sure you subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.